In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Today we shall apprise you with the conduct and conclusion of Pakistan Armed Forces Operation Bunyanum Marsoos against Indian military dastardly attacks that began on night of 6th and 7th May 2025, resulting in the loss of innocent civilian lives that included women, children and elderly. Pakistan had vowed justice and retribution for reprehensible Indian military aggression and brutal killings of our citizens. Alhamdulillah, Pakistan Armed Forces have delivered the promise made to our people. I begin by thanking Almighty Allah for His infinite blessings, mercy, help and divine support, as He has ordained the believers to retaliate whenever they are wronged. We bow our heads to Him in utmost humility to have enabled us to translate our resolve into decisive actions in the battlefield. Our hearts and sympathies are with the wards and families of the Shuhada who sacrificed their lives for the beloved country, and our prayers are for the quick recovery of our injured countrymen. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to every officer, soldier, airman and sailor of the Armed Forces of Pakistan who made this success on the battlefield possible through their courage, professionalism and sacrifice. The Armed Forces of Pakistan express their profound appreciation and gratitude to the brave Pakistani nation whose moral strength, resolve and above all wholehearted support and prayers remained unwaveringly with us during these testing times, which became a force multiplier for the Armed Forces of Pakistan. We are specially indebted to the youth of Pakistan who became the frontline soldiers as information and cyber warriors of the country. Profound thanks are also due to you, the vibrant media of Pakistan, who also stood like Bunyanum Marsoos, a steel wall against the Indian media information blitz and fuming as well as warmongering done by the Indian media. We are extremely grateful to the political leadership of all political parties without any distinction for the unified resolve in support of their armed forces for the defense of our motherland. The armed forces are specifically grateful to the inspiring leadership of the Prime Minister of Pakistan and his cabinet ministers for taking destiny-changing decisions of the country and steering it through this critical situation. Let me share now the operational details of Operation Bunyanum Marsoos. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan's response was a textbook demonstration of integrated tri-services jointness enabled by real-time situational awareness, network-centric warfare capabilities, and seamless multi-domain operations. This synergy across air, land, sea, and cyber domains allowed for precision engagements, overwhelming lethality, and rapid tempo. All platforms operated in synergy, delivering coordinated effects at carefully selected decisive points. Using precision-guided long-range Fateh series missiles F-1 and F-2 of Pakistan Army, precision munitions of Pakistan Air Force, highly capable long-range loitering killer munitions, and precision long-range artillery. 26 military targets as well as facilities that were used to target Pakistani citizens and those enterprises that were responsible for fomenting terrorism in Pakistan were engaged in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and also mainland India. The targets included Air Force and aviation bases at Suratgarh, Sirsa, Bhuj, Nalia, Adampur, Bhatinda, Barnala, Halwara, Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Udhampur, Mamoon, Ambala, and Pathankot, which all sustained major damages. BrahMos storage facilities at Beas and Nagrota were also destroyed, which had fired missiles on Pakistan, killing innocent civilians, our flower like children, our ladies, and our elderly. S-400 battery system at Adampur and Bhuj was also attacked by our proud Pakistan Air Force. Military logistic and support sites which helped sustain this unlawful operation against innocent Pakistani civilians, like Field Supply Depot at Uri and Radar Station at Poonch, were also targeted. Military command headquarters, which helped plan the operational killing of our innocent citizens, especially the children, including 10th Brigade and 80 Brigade at KG Top and Nushaira, were also destroyed. Facilities which harbor, train, and capacitate proxy elements that perpetrate terrorist attacks inside Pakistan, which kill innocent civilians, were specifically identified and destroyed. These include intelligence fusion support units and its forward field elements at Rajouri and Nowshera. Across the line of control, military elements including headquarters, logistic bases, artillery position, and posts that had caused civilian casualties in Azad Jammu and Kashmir through unprovoked artillery and small arms fire were relentlessly targeted and heavily damaged until they raised white flags and asked for restraint. India used drones to violate Pakistani airspace to intimidate our civilians and spread fear. All through Operation Banyanum Marsoos, dozens of Pakistani armed drones hovered over Indian major cities and sensitive political and government facilities, including their capital, New Delhi. And from Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir all the way up to Gujarat to manifest clearly our lethal long range unmanned capability to indicate the futility of the use of this domain in warfare. Pakistan Armed Forces also carried out comprehensive and effective cyber offensive to temporarily cripple and degrade critical infrastructure and services that were being used by Indian armed forces to sustain their operations. Let me tell you that Pakistan Armed Forces possess an adequate suite of very sophisticated niche military technologies, only some of which were used with restraint in this conflict, and there are many more such capabilities being kept as future surprises. Despite all this, let me say that compared to Indian relentless provocations, Pakistan's military response has been precise, proportionate, and still remarkably restrained. It was carefully calibrated to avoid civilian casualties and has exclusively targeted those entities and facilities which were directly involved in orchestrating and executing cold-blooded killings of Pakistani civilians and those carrying out terrorist attacks inside Pakistan. We must also inform you that Pakistan also sustained an abnormal and immediate spike in Indian-sponsored terrorism across Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan while we were busy in operations on the Eastern Front. This vindicates that India is directly involved in fomenting terrorism in Pakistan, and its proxies were fully operationalized during this time to distract our attention. Pakistan armed forces are resilient and simultaneously with the conduct of Operation Bunyanum Marsoos, we carried out most effective counter-terrorism operations in the western region without any pause. Operation Bunyanum Marsoos has been a great example of coming together of all elements of national power with overwhelming support of Pakistani public to effectively counter the threat to our national sovereignty and integrity and the threat to our great motherland. No one should have any doubt that whenever our sovereignty would be threatened and territorial integrity violated, the response would be comprehensive, retributive, and decisive. Pakistan Armed Forces thank and salute the Pakistani nation for its courage, resilience, and national fervor during this conflict. Let me finish with the Quranic verse from the Surah Anfal. وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكِرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Pakistan Zindabad, Afwaj Pakistan Paindabad. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will read out this statement in Urdu for our citizens of Pakistan in general. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. आज मैं आपको पाकिस्तान की मुसल्लह अफवाज के ऑपरेशन बनियानुम मरसूस की कार्रवाई और इसके नताइज से आगाह करना चाहता हूँ, जो भारत की बुज़दिलाना फ़ौजी जहरियत के जवाब में किया गया। ये हमले 6 और 7 मई 2025 की दरमियानी शब शुरू हुए, जिनके नतीजे में मासूम शहरी, जिनमें ख़वातीन, बच्चे और बुज़ुर्ग शामिल थे, शहीद हुए। पाकिस्तान ने भारतीय जारियत और हमारे शहरियों के बेहमाना कत्ल पर इंसाफ और इंतकाम का वादा किया था। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, पाकिस्तान की मुसल्लह अफ़वाज ने ये वादा पूरा किया। मैं सबसे पहले रब्बे ज़ुल जलाल का शुक्र अदा करता हूँ। रब्बे ज़ुल जलाल का शुक्र अदा करता हूँ, जिसकी बेपाया रहमत, नुसरत और मदद हमारे साथ रही। अल्लाह ताला ने मोमिनों को हुक्म दिया है कि जब उन पर जुल्म हो तो वह जवाब दें। हम अल्लाह के हजूर सजदा रेज होते हैं कि उसने हमें अपनी अज़्म को फैसला कुन अमल में ढालने की तौफीक अता फरमाई। हमारे दिल और दुआएं इन शोहदा के ख़ानदानों के साथ हैं, जिन्होंने अपनी जानें मादरे वतन पर कुर्बान कर दी। हम ज़ख्मियों की जल्द सेहत याबी के लिए भी दुआगो हैं। हम पाकिस्तान की मुसल्लह अफ़वाज के हर ऑफिसर, सिपाही, एयरमैन और सेलर के बेहद मशकूर हैं, जिन्होंने अपनी जुर्रत, पेशावराना महारत और कुर्बानी से मैदान जंग में कामयाबी को मुमकिन बनाया। हम पाकिस्तान की मुसल्लह अफ़वाज पूरी कौम, खुसूसन नौजवानों के जज्बे, हौसले और भरपूर हमायत पर दिल की गहराइयों से शुक्रगुजार हैं, जिन्होंने मुश्किल तरीन वक्त में हमारे हौसले को कई गुना बढ़ाया। हम पाकिस्तान के उन नौजवानों के भी मकरूज़ हैं जो साइबर और इंफॉर्मेशन के महाज पर सफ़े अव्वल के सिपाही बने। हम पाकिस्तान के मुतहर्रिक और बहादुर मीडिया के भी शुक्रगुजार हैं, जिन्होंने भारत के प्रोपेगेंडा और जंगी जुनून के ख़िलाफ़ बुनियानो मरसूस यानी एक आनी दीवार की तरह खड़े हुए। हम बिला तफरीक तमाम सियासी जमातों की क़यादत के भी ममनून हैं, जिन्होंने सियासी इख्तलाफात से बालातर होकर वतन के दिफा में मुत्तहिद होकर अफ़वाज पाकिस्तान के शाना बशाना खड़े होने का बेहतरीन मुजाहरा किया। मुसल्लह अफ़वाज बिलखसूस पाकिस्तान के वज़ीर आज़म और उनकी काबीना की कायदाना सलाहियतों और जुर्रतमंदाना फ़ैसलों की भी कदरदान हैं, जिन्होंने मुल्क को इस नाज़ुक मोड़ पर दुरुस्त सिमत में रहनुमाई फराहम की। خواتین و حضرات، اب میں آپ کو آپریشن بنیان و مرصوص کی تفصیلات سے آگاہ کروں گا۔ پاکستان کا جواب ایک نصابی نمونہ تھا، جس میں تینوں افواج کی مکمل ہم آہنگی کے ساتھ حقیقی وقت پر صورتحال کی آگاہی، نیٹ ورک سینٹرک وارفیئر اور ملٹی ڈومین آپریشنز کی مکمل صلاحیت بروئے کار لائی گئی۔ زمین، فضا، سمندر اور سائبر سپیس میں مکمل ہم آہنگی سے اہم اہداف کو تباہ کیا گیا۔ پاکستان فوج کے F-1 اور F-2 دور مار کرنے والے میزائل، پاک فضائیہ کے جدید پریسائز منیشن، طویل فاصلے تک مار کرنے والے لوئٹرنگ ایمونیشن اور جدید پریسائز ارٹلری کے ذریعے بھارت کے 26 اہم فوجی اہداف کو نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ وہ تنصیبات جو پاکستانی شہریوں کو نشانہ بنانے کے لیے استعمال ہوئیں، اور وہ تنصیبات جو پاکستان میں دہشت گردی کو فروغ دینے میں استعمال ہوتی ہیں، اور ان تنصیبات کو نہ صرف بھارتی غیر قانونی زیر تسلط جموں و کشمیر میں بلکہ بھارت کے اندر بھی نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ نشانہ بنانے والے فضائی اور ہوائی اڈوں میں ایئر فورس اور ایویشن بیسز سورت گڑھ، سرسا، بھج، نالیا، آدم پور، بھٹنڈا، برنالہ، ہلواڑہ، اونتی پورہ، سری نگر، جموں، ادھم پور، مامون، امبالہ اور پٹھان کوٹ شامل تھے۔ بیاس اور نگروٹا میں موجود براموس میزائل کے ذخائر جو پاکستانی شہریوں پر حملوں میں استعمال ہوئے، ان کو تباہ کیا گیا۔ S-400 ایئر ڈیفنس سسٹم کو پاک فضائیہ نے بوجھ اور آدم پور میں نشانہ بنایا۔ اڑی میں فیلڈ سپلائی ڈیپو اور پونچھ میں ریڈار سٹیشن جیسے لاجسٹک اور سپورٹ مراکز کو بھی نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ KG ٹاپ اور نوشہرہ میں موجود 10 بریگیڈ اور 80 بریگیڈ کی کمانڈ تنصیبات کو بھی تباہ کیا گیا۔ یہ وہ تنصیبات ہیں جہاں سے بلا اشتعال فائرنگ کر کے معصوم بچوں اور عورتوں کو نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ راجوڑی اور نوشہرہ میں موجود ملٹری انٹیلیجنس کی یونٹیں اور ان کے فیلڈ عناصر جو پاکستان میں دہشت گردی میں ملوث پراکسیز کو سپورٹ دیتے تھے، ان کو بھی ختم کیا گیا۔ لائن آف کنٹرول کے پار وہ تمام آرٹلری، لاجسٹک اور پوسٹیں جو کشمیر میں سویلینز پر فائرنگ کرتی تھیں، ان پر شدید اور مسلسل جوابی کارروائی کی گئی، یہاں تک کہ انہوں نے سفید جھنڈے اٹھا لیے۔ بھارت نے ڈرونز کے ذریعے پاکستانی فضا کی خلاف ورزی کی تاکہ عوام میں خوف پھیلایا جا سکے اور ان کو ہراساں کیا جا سکے۔ اس کے رد عمل میں آپریشن بنیان و مرصوص کے دوران پاکستان کی مسلح ڈرونز بھارت کے بڑے شہروں انکلوڈنگ دارالحکومت نیو دہلی اور اللیگلی آکوپائڈ جموں اینڈ کشمیر سے لے کر گجرات تک مسلسل پرواز کرتے رہے، تاکہ پاکستان کی صلاحیت کا نہ صرف اظہار کیا جا سکے اور بلکہ یہ بتایا جا سکے کہ اس ڈرونز کے ڈومین کا موجودہ وارفیئر میں کوئی فائدہ نہیں۔ پاکستانی فوج نے بھرپور سائبر حملے بھی کیے، جن کے نتیجے میں ان بھارتی اہم مواصلاتی اور انفراسٹرکچر نظام کو مفلوج کیا گیا جو کہ بھارتی افواج کے استعمال کر رہی تھی۔ یہ یاد رہے کہ پاکستانی افواج کے پاس ایسی کئی جدید جنگی صلاحیتیں موجود ہیں جن کا کچھ کا استعمال اس تنازع میں محدود سطح پر کیا گیا، اور کئی صلاحیتیں آئندہ کے لیے محفوظ رکھی گئی ہیں۔ ان سب اقدامات کے باوجود میں واضح کرنا چاہتا ہوں کہ بھارت کی مسلسل اشتعال انگیزی کے مقابلے میں پاکستان کا رد عمل نہایت درست، متوازن اور محدود نوعیت کا رہا۔ ہر ہدف جو ہمارے معصوم شہریوں کے قتل یا پاکستان میں دہشت گردی میں براہ راست ملوث تھا، ان کو احتیاط سے نہ صرف منتخب کیا گیا بلکہ انشور کیا گیا کہ عام شہری متاثر نہ ہوں۔ ہم یہ بھی واضح کرنا چاہتے ہیں کہ جب مشرقی سرحد پر افواج پاکستان دفاع میں مصروف تھیں تو خیبر پختونخوا اور بلوچستان میں بھارتی سرپرستی میں دہشت گردی میں غیر معمولی اضافہ ہوا، جو اس بات کا دوبارہ ایک ناقابل تردید ثبوت ہے کہ بھارت پاکستان میں دہشت گردی کو اپنی پراکسیز کے ذریعے فروغ دے رہا ہے۔ تاہم افواج پاکستان نے مغربی محاذ پر بھی انسداد دہشت گردی آپریشنز کو بغیر کسی وقفے کے کامیابی سے جاری رکھا۔ خواتین و حضرات، آپریشن بنیان و مرصوص ایک ایسی شاندار مثال ہے جہاں قوم کی تمام طاقتیں متحد ہوئیں اور متحد ہو کر مادر وطن کے تحفظ کے لیے کھڑی ہو گئیں۔ کسی کو بھی کوئی شک نہیں ہونا چاہیے کہ جب کبھی ہماری خود مختاری یا سرحدوں کی خلاف ورزی کی گئی، ہمارا رد عمل جامع، جوابی اور فیصلہ کن ہوگا۔ افواج پاکستان پاکستانی قوم کو اس کے حوصلے، عزم اور حب الوطنی پر سلام پیش کرتی ہے۔ اور آخر میں سورہ انفال کی ان آیات پر ختم کرنا چاہوں گا، وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ۔ وہ تو اپنی تدبیریں کر رہے تھے اور اللہ اپنی تدبیر کر رہا تھا، اور وہ سب سے مستحکم تدبیر کرنے والا ہے۔ پاکستان زندہ باد، افواج پاکستان پائندہ باد۔ اب میں
And the translation reads, how many times it happened that a smaller force vanquished a bigger force by the will of Allah. History has proven that the complete nation and its armed forces have always stood together with all their might against any act of aggression. Alhamdulillah, we have the will, capacity and capability to protect our sovereignty and territorial integrity, and we are all well aware of the ways and means to do it. Our forefathers, they have sacrificed immensely, and we have sacrificed a lot for the creation of this country, and we know how to defend it. If this great Pakistani nation and the Pakistani armed forces, if 1.3 million Indian army with all their wherewithal, if they cannot intimidate us and they cannot coerce us, these terrorists can subdue the armed forces of Pakistan.
ہم صرف یہ کہنا چاہتے ہیں، تمہاری طاقت نہ تمہاری مکاری اور تمہاری جارحیت سے مروب ہونے والی قوم ہے۔ Now you just wait for our response. You go to the next slide. If you remember, the armed forces of Pakistan promised you three things. We told you that we will give a befitting response to Indian aggression. We told you and we told the nation that, however, this response will be at the time, place, and method of our own choosing. And we also told the nation that when we will hit the Indians, the entire world will come to know. And we also told that you will not require the Indian media to report to you the phantom strikes that they said that Pakistan is taking place. Didn't we tell you all these three things? We told you. And we also told you that as these armed forces say, we ardently love to embrace Shahadat far more than you fear death. So, gentlemen, this is how it culminated. Now I will show you another clip which will tell you the story. So did you find even there from the Indian statements that did Pakistan attack anything other than military targets? No. Did any international media, even Indian media, what are they reporting? Precise targeting of the military installations, posts. We told you that we don't target civilians. Our religion does not allow us. Our culture does not allow us. Our professionalism of these armed forces doesn't allow us. That we will never target civilians. So they are even acknowledging that. And they are also saying that once they received the message, once they got the message, then who asked for non-escalation? Who requested that they want non-escalation, that the things should go down? So it's for all to see. So now I will request first Vice Admiral Rab Nawaz to give you a short brief on the naval operations that were part of the Operation Banyan Marsoos, followed by Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb on the air operations. And after that, we will take your questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll very briefly talk about the role of Pakistan Navy in the defense of Pakistan during this particular crisis. And by the grace of Almighty Allah and with Almighty's help, we were able to defend Pakistan's sea frontiers and deter an enemy which is numerically superior. We kept the enemy at bay, and I'll just briefly talk about how we executed our operations. So essentially, protection of Pakistan's maritime interests and seaboard defense, that is the task of the Navy. And Alhamdulillah, with the help of Almighty Allah, we were able to do that. On any given day of the year, we maintain perpetual readiness. And what that means is that our ships and submarines, they are stocked up, all the military logistics are stocked up. And for us, the transition from peace to war is not only swift, it's almost invisible. And when this false flag thing happened in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we immediately mobilized and we completed the operational deployments of Pakistani Navy fleet units and also the coastal command units in a matter of hours. Our submarines, our ships and aircraft, they were at in their respective areas where they were supposed to be, and we were ready to thwart any aggression from the sea. And go on to the next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, maritime domain awareness, that is essentially to know what is happening in your area of interest. That is critical for the naval operations. And I'll just briefly talk about that, because to generate any response, you need to be aware of the happening in your area of responsibility. And we were maintaining 24/7 vigil at sea. And click, aage jaye. Okay. A couple of days back, there was a hype. You heard about INS Vikrant approaching Karachi. And I'll just briefly tell you that we were keeping a very close eye on the activities at sea. And this is essentially the Indian Navy surface disposition throughout the, we had a couple of ships in this particular area. They were moving around in this area. And then there's a ship off Salala, which was operating over there. And this is the much talked about the Indian carrier. We were monitoring it right from the day one. On 30th of April, it was here. Then it moved up here. Subsequently, it moved up here. And on the night of 6th and 7th May, it was back, close to Ratnagiri, very close to Mumbai. And then on 9th May, it was here, essentially 400 nautical miles away from Pakistani coast. And again, then it retreated back close to Mumbai. So we were keeping a very close track on this particular carrier movement. And there was no cause of concern at any time. If the carrier comes closer to 400 nautical miles and even closer, that essentially simplifies our problem. So we were, the Pakistan Navy Maritime Air Arm, in coordination with the strike component of Pakistan Air Force, they were cockpit ready to generate any kind of response at that time, at all times. And I was in constant communication with the Deputy Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb at all times, and we were just ready. If there is any aggression from the sea, we were there to respond effectively. And let me say another thing. That is, you know about the carriers, you have seen them in the movies, but as a professional military officer, I don't want to underestimate the enemy, but let's put the things in the right perspective. The INS Vikrant and the carrier, the Western carrier, there's a huge difference. This is an aircraft carrier which essentially sailed with 8 to 12 MiG-29s, which was barely essential to carry out its own air defense. The purpose of the carriers is power projection and to ensure air superiority in a given sea area. So with this, less said the better. This is simply not possible, and the Indian Navy exactly knew this, and that is precisely why on the 9th of 6th and 7th, when they carried out this cowardly attack on the civilians, they moved this carrier to the safety of their own coast, well away from Pakistan's strike capability, close to this Ratnagiri area. And again, on the night of 9th and 10th, it was moved very close to the Mumbai. It was essentially 17 to 20 nautical miles off Mumbai. But we were keeping a track. We were fully aware of their movements in this area, and we were always ready to generate a response in coordination with the Air Force, especially in case of the aircraft carrier. Subsurface elements, the offensive element, they were offensively deployed. They were in their respective areas and ready to generate a response. And also, you might have seen this footage, surveillance and suppression effectively going on at all times. Likewise, another component of Pakistan Navy's responsibility is the defense of the Creek area. We had our coastal command units deployed over there in close coordination with headquarters 5 Corps elements, Pakistan Army elements, and they were poised to defend this particular area in case of any aggression from the south. Another important component is the protection of ports and harbors. You have just heard the DG ISPR talked about the subconventional threat that we witnessed. There was a surge in other part of the country, and we were, there were real-time apprehension that there may be a surge. So we ensured the protection of all ports and harbors of Pakistan, and coastal command elements, they effectively played a very, very important role in this. And just to mention that on the night of 6 and 7, when they carried out the attack on Pakistan, we were fully ready to respond to any aggression from the sea. We were just ready, and but the enemy chose not to come over. It was essentially not a matter of choice.